The Disciplined Mind. Conquering chaos, mastering emotion, leading with purpose. Introduction. The lies your mind tells you. Stop me if you've heard this before. I'll start tomorrow. I just need to get motivated. I work better under pressure. These are the lies your undisciplined mind tells you to keep you exactly where you are. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Your mind is not your friend, at least not automatically. Left to its own devices, your mind will choose comfort over growth, reaction over response, and chaos over clarity every single time. It will convince you that scrolling through social media is research. It will persuade you that you need to feel ready before taking action. It will assure you that next week, next month, next year, that's when you'll finally get serious. And here's what makes this so insidious. Your mind will make these excuses sound completely reasonable. I'm not here to motivate you. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings are unreliable. Some days you'll wake up motivated. Most days you won't. What I'm here to do is teach you how to build a disciplined mind, one that functions regardless of how you feel, that cuts through chaos like a blade through water, that transforms emotional turbulence into fuel rather than letting it become a roadblock. Over the next 10 chapters, you're going to learn the mental operating system that separates people who achieve their goals from people who simply talk about them. You're going to discover why discipline isn't about willpower, it's about architecture. You're going to understand how to master your emotions without suppressing them, how to lead with purpose when everything around you is uncertain, and how to build a mind that serves you instead of sabotaging you. But first, we need to dismantle the myths that have been holding you back. The motivation myth. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt motivated to brush your teeth? Probably never, right? You just do it. You don't wait to feel inspired. You don't create a vision board about oral hygiene. You don't give yourself a pep talk before picking up your toothbrush. You simply execute the behavior automatically because it's part of your mental architecture. Now imagine if you approached everything in your life, your work, your health, your relationships, your goals, with that same automatic execution. No negotiation, no internal debate, no waiting for the feeling to strike, just action. That's what discipline actually is. It's not some mystical force that some people have and others don't. It's the removal of the gap between intention and action. It's the systematic elimination of internal negotiation. Most people think they need to feel motivated to take action. Disciplined people understand the truth. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. The feeling you're waiting for, it shows up after you start, not before. The willpower fallacy. Here's another lie you've probably been told. You just need more willpower. Willpower is real, but it's also limited. It's like a battery that depletes throughout the day. Every decision you make, every temptation you resist, every difficult task you complete, these all drain your willpower reserves. By evening, your willpower battery is running on empty, which is why you're far more likely to break your diet, skip your workout, or binge watch Netflix instead of working on your project. Disciplined people don't have more willpower. They structure their lives to require less of it. They make important decisions in the morning when their mental resources are fresh. They build systems that automate behavior. They design their environment to eliminate temptation rather than trying to resist it through sheer force of will. They understand that discipline isn't about being stronger than everyone else. It's about being smarter with the strength you have. The pressure paradox. I work better under pressure. This one is perhaps the most seductive lie of all because it contains a kernel of truth wrapped in a disaster. Yes, deadlines can focus attention. Yes, adrenaline can temporarily enhance performance. But here's what working under constant pressure actually does. It keeps you operating in survival mode, never allowing you to reach the level of strategic, creative, high-quality work that separates exceptional from merely adequate. People who consistently work under pressure aren't performing at their peak, they're performing at their limit. There's a difference. Peak performance comes from a disciplined approach that creates margin, space, and mental clarity. Limit performance comes from chaos, reactivity, and the constant stress of everything being urgent. The disciplined mind rejects artificial urgency. It creates its own timeline, its own standards, its own pace. It understands that sustainable excellence requires periods of deep work, strategic thinking, and recovery, none of which are possible when you're constantly in crisis mode. What this book will teach you. Throughout the following chapters, we're going to build a complete mental operating system for a disciplined life. How to architect your decision-making to eliminate internal negotiation. The frameworks for transforming emotional chaos into clarity. The specific mental models leaders use to navigate uncertainty. The daily systems that make discipline automatic rather than effortful. The techniques for responding strategically instead of reacting emotionally. The methods for maintaining focus in a world designed to distract you. The practices for leading yourself first so you can lead others effectively. This isn't theory. This isn't philosophy. This is practical, actionable intelligence that you can implement starting today. Each chapter will give you specific tools, real examples, and clear strategies for building a mind that serves your highest ambitions rather than your lowest impulses. Your undisciplined mind has been running the show long enough. It's time to take command. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Architecture of Discipline. Discipline is not a personality trait. It's not something you're born with or without. It's architecture, a way of structuring your decisions, your environment, and your mental processes that makes the right actions automatic and the wrong actions difficult. Most people approach discipline like they're trying to dam a river with willpower alone. They wake up each morning and rely on motivation, determination, and sheer force of will to fight against their natural impulses. By noon, they're exhausted. By evening, they've given in. The disciplined mind doesn't fight the river, it redirects it. The Decision Elimination Principle. Here's a fundamental truth. Every decision is an opportunity for failure. Steve Jobs wore the same outfit every day. Barack Obama limited his wardrobe to blue or grey suits. Mark Zuckerberg has a closet full of identical grey t-shirts. Are these people boring, inflexible? No. They understand decision elimination. Each day, you have a finite amount of mental energy. Research by Roy Baumeister and others has demonstrated that decision-making depletes the same cognitive resources you need for self-control and complex thinking. This is why you can resist dessert at lunch, but cave to ice cream after dinner. Your decision-making capacity has been drained by the hundreds of micro-decisions you've made throughout the day. The solution isn't to develop more willpower. The solution is to eliminate unnecessary decisions. Practical application. The default protocol. Create default settings for recurring decisions in your life. Here's how. Morning routine. Defaults. Same wake-up time, no negotiation about sleeping in. Same first action, meditation, exercise, cold shower, whatever serves you. Same breakfast or rotating menu of 3 options. Same work, start time. Work execution defaults. First 2 hours are always deep work on your most important project. No email, no meetings, no interruptions. Email is checked at 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. only, not constantly. Meetings are scheduled only on specific days, Tuesdays and Thursdays, for example. Phone is in another room or on airplane mode during focus blocks. Evening wind down defaults. Same dinner time. All devices off by 9 p.m. Same preparation ritual for the next day, same bedtime. Notice what these defaults do. They create an architecture where discipline becomes the path of least resistance. You're not deciding whether to work out each morning, you're just following the protocol. You're not deciding whether to check your phone during deep work, it's not even in the room. This is the difference between hoping you'll make good choices and engineering your life so good choices are automatic. Environment design, making good behavior inevitable. Your environment is constantly shaping your behavior, usually without your awareness. The disciplined mind recognizes this and deliberately architects environments that support desired behaviors, while making undesired behaviors difficult or impossible. James Clear, in his research on habit formation, found that environment design is more powerful than willpower for sustaining behavior change. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. Example: the distraction-free workspace. An undisciplined approach. I'll just ignore my phone notifications while I work. Result: you check your phone 73 times. Yes, studies show the average is 58 to 96 times per day. A disciplined approach. Phone is in a locked drawer in another room. Apps are deleted, not just logged out of. Computer has website blockers installed that don't allow overrides. The only items on your desk are directly related to your current task. Result: distraction isn't resisted. It's architecturally impossible. Example: the automatic health system. Undisciplined. I'll try to eat healthier and make better choices. Result: you eat whatever is convenient and appealing in the moment. Disciplined. Your kitchen contains only foods that align with your goals. Your gym bag is packed and by the door. Your workout clothes are laid out. Healthy meals are prepped on Sunday for the week. Result: the healthy choice is the easy choice. The implementation intention formula. Research by psychologist Peter Gollwitzer has demonstrated that specific implementation intentions dramatically increase the likelihood of following through on goals. An implementation intention follows this format. When situation X occurs, I will perform behavior Y. This is far more powerful than vague goals because it removes the need for decision-making in the moment. Your brain has already decided. It's just executing a predetermined protocol. Practical examples. Vague. I want to be more productive. Implementation intention. When I arrive at my desk each morning, I will immediately start a 90-minute focus block on my most important project before checking any messages. Vague. I should manage my emotions better. Implementation intention. When I feel anger rising in a conversation, I will pause, take 3 deep breaths, and ask, what is this person's underlying need, before responding. Vague. I need to exercise more. Implementation intention. When my alarm goes off at 6 a.m., I will immediately put on my workout clothes and go to the gym for 45 minutes before allowing myself to check my phone. Notice how each implementation intention is 1. Specific about the trigger situation. 2. Clear about the exact behavior. 3. Non-negotiable in its structure. This creates what psychologists call automatic goal pursuit. Your behavior happens without requiring active decision-making because the decision has already been made. The energy management framework. Discipline isn't just about forcing yourself to do difficult things. It's about strategically managing your energy so you're doing the right things at the right times. Your cognitive capacity varies significantly throughout the day. Most people experience their peak mental clarity in the first few hours after waking. This is when your prefrontal cortex, responsible for complex thinking, decision-making, and self-control, is most active and least depleted. Yet what do most people do during these peak hours? Check email, attend status meetings, respond to urgent but unimportant requests, scroll social media. In other words, they squander their most valuable cognitive resource on their least valuable activities. The disciplined energy allocation. Peak energy hours. First 2 to 4 hours after waking. Deep work on your most important creative or strategic project. Complex problem solving. Writing, designing, creating. Strategic planning and decision making. Medium energy hours, late morning to early afternoon. Meetings and collaborative work. Communication and coordination. Learning new skills. Routine administrative tasks. Low energy hours, afternoon slump and evening. Physical tasks that don't require complex thinking. Exercise, which actually restores mental energy. Routine maintenance activities. Organization and planning for tomorrow. This isn't about working harder. It's about working in alignment with your natural cognitive rhythms. The disciplined mind recognizes when it's operating at peak capacity and protects those hours ruthlessly. The anti-multitasking mandate. Here's an uncomfortable truth. Multitasking is a myth. What you call multitasking is actually rapid task switching, and it's devastating your cognitive performance. Research from Stanford University found that heavy multitaskers are actually worse at filtering irrelevant information, worse at switching between tasks, and worse at using working memory compared to people who focus on one task at a time. Every time you switch tasks, there's a cognitive cost. Your brain needs time to reorient, reload context, and regain momentum. These switching costs can consume up to 40% of your productive time. The disciplined mind operates in blocks of uninterrupted focus. Single task. Execution. 1. Choose one task. 2. Eliminate all other inputs. Close browser tabs, silence notifications, remove phone from environment. 3. Set a timer for focused work, typically 60 to 90 minutes. 4. Execute that single task with complete attention. 5. Take a genuine break. 6. Move to the next single task block. This approach feels slower initially because you're not constantly switching between tasks, creating the illusion of productivity. But the depth of work you accomplish and the quality of the output far exceeds what scattered attention could ever produce. Building systems, not goals. Goals are important for setting direction, but systems are what actually produce results. A goal is, I want to write a book. A system is, I write 500 words every morning from 6 to 7 a.m. before doing anything else. A goal is, I want to get in shape. A system is, I go to the gym Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 5:30 p.m. immediately after work, with my gym bag already packed and in the car. Goals are about the destination. Systems are about the journey. And here's the key insight. If you follow a good system, the goal becomes almost inevitable. The disciplined mind focuses on building systems, repeatable, reliable processes that produce desired outcomes automatically. Once a system is in place, discipline becomes less about motivation and more about simple execution of the protocol. The weekly architecture review. Discipline requires maintenance. Every Sunday evening, or whatever day works for your rhythm, conduct a 30-minute architecture review. 1. What systems worked well this week? 2. Where did I experience friction or failure? 3. What decisions am I still making that could be eliminated? 4. What environmental changes would make good behavior easier? 5. What are my implementation intentions for the coming week? This regular review prevents your discipline architecture from degrading over time. It allows you to continuously refine and optimize your systems based on real-world results rather than theoretical ideals. Discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about having a system that catches you when you slip and redirects you back to the path. Chapter Summary. Key Principles. 1. Eliminate decisions through default protocols. 2. Design your environment to make good behavior automatic. 3. Use implementation intentions to remove in-the-moment choice. 4. Allocate your peak energy to your most important work. 5. Practice single-task execution instead of multitasking. 6. Build systems that make goals inevitable. 7. Review and refine your architecture weekly. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to apply these same architectural principles to the most challenging aspect of discipline: mastering your emotional responses. Chapter 2. The Emotional Mastery Framework. Your emotions are not your enemies. They're data, valuable information about how you're interpreting and responding to your environment. The problem isn't that you have emotions. The problem is that most people have never learned to process emotions effectively, so they either suppress them, creating internal pressure that eventually explodes, or let emotions drive behavior, creating chaos and regret. The disciplined mind does neither. It observes emotions, extracts useful information from them, and then chooses responses strategically rather than reacting automatically. This is what emotional mastery actually means: not the absence of emotion, but the presence of choice in how you respond to emotion. The observation gap, creating space between stimulus and response. Viktor Frankl, the Austrian psychiatrist who survived Nazi concentration camps, wrote, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." Most people have no space. Something happens: criticism, setback, conflict, disappointment, emotion arises, and they react immediately. The undisciplined mind operates on autopilot. Feel anger, say something harsh, feel anxious, avoid the challenge, feel discouraged, quit the project. The disciplined mind inserts a gap, a moment of observation before action. The 3-breath protocol. When you notice a strong emotion arising: 1. First breath. Label what you're feeling with precision. Not just "I feel bad," but "I'm feeling defensive because I interpreted that comment as a challenge to my competence." 2. Second breath. Acknowledge that this is information, not instruction. The emotion is telling you something about your perception or needs, but it's not commanding your behavior. Third breath. Ask, what response would serve me and this situation best, regardless of how I feel right now? This takes practice. Your automatic reactions have been programmed through years of repetition. But just like building physical strength, each time you practice the gap, you strengthen your capacity for conscious response instead of unconscious reaction. Example: the criticism response. Undisciplined response to criticism. Feel immediate defensiveness. Interrupt to explain why they're wrong. Get angry or withdrawn. Spend the next 3 days replaying the conversation and building resentment. Disciplined response to criticism. Notice defensiveness arising. I'm feeling attacked. Pause before speaking, the 3-breath protocol. Ask clarifying questions. Can you help me understand specifically what concerned you? Extract any valid insights from the criticism. Decide deliberately whether to implement changes or let it go. Move forward without emotional residue. The outcome? You gain useful feedback when it's valid, you're unshaken by criticism that isn't valid, and you maintain relationships because you don't react defensively. The emotion audit. Understanding your patterns. Most people go through life never examining their emotional patterns. They just experience their reactions as the way I am. The disciplined mind studies its own patterns with the curiosity of a scientist. For 1 week, track your emotional reactions. When you experience a strong emotion, note the triggering situation, the feeling you experienced, your immediate reaction, what you were telling yourself, the internal narrative, the outcome of your reaction. By the end of the week, patterns will emerge. You might notice, I get defensive whenever someone questions my work. I avoid difficult conversations by staying busy. I catastrophize whenever something doesn't go as planned. I get frustrated when people don't meet my unstated expectations. These patterns aren't character flaws, they're programming. And once you can see the program running, you can rewrite it. Rewriting emotional programs. The cognitive interrupt. Most emotional reactions are based on interpretations, not facts. You don't react to what happens, you react to what you tell yourself about what happens. Someone doesn't respond to your text message, that's the fact. But your mind creates a story. They're ignoring me. They don't value me. They're probably talking about me with someone else. That story triggers emotion, hurt, anger, anxiety, which drives behavior, sending multiple follow-up messages, withdrawing, getting passive-aggressive when they finally do respond. The disciplined mind intercepts the story and examines it. The cognitive interrupt process. 1. Notice the emotion, anxiety, anger, hurt, etc. 2. Identify the story you're telling yourself. They're ignoring me because... 3. Challenge the story with alternative interpretations. Or they're in a meeting. Or they haven't checked their phone. Or they saw it and planned to respond thoughtfully later. Or their priorities differ from mine about response times. Return to the facts. The fact is, they haven't responded yet. Everything else is speculation. Choose your response based on facts, not stories. I'll continue with my day and give them reasonable time to respond. This doesn't mean you ignore your intuition or never trust your gut feelings. It means you distinguish between useful intuition based on pattern recognition and experience and unhelpful catastrophizing based on anxiety and insecurity. The anger transformation. Converting reactive energy into strategic action. Anger is perhaps the most misunderstood and mismanaged emotion. Most people either suppress it, creating resentment and health problems, or express it reactively, creating damaged relationships and regret. The disciplined mind recognizes that anger is high-energy fuel. The question is, what are you fueling? Anger typically arises when you perceive an injustice or violation of values, disrespect or dismissal, an obstacle to something you care about, helplessness in a situation that matters. All of these situations contain valuable information. The emotion is telling you, this matters to you, pay attention. The undisciplined response is to lash out, blame, attack, or stew in resentment. The disciplined response is to extract the signal from the noise, and take strategic action. The Anger Transformation Protocol. 1. Feel it fully. Suppression doesn't work. The pressure just builds. 2. Identify the underlying need or value that's being violated. I'm angry because I value respect and felt dismissed. I'm angry because I care about quality and this feels substandard. I'm angry because fairness matters to me and this seems unjust. 3. Convert emotional energy into purposeful action. Instead of attacking the person, do address the behavior or situation directly and constructively, instead of complaining about the problem. Do create or propose a solution, instead of nursing resentment. Do establish clear boundaries or remove yourself from toxic situations. 4. Release what you can't control. Some situations won't change no matter how angry you are. Use the anger as information about what matters to you. Channel that energy into areas where you do have agency. Example: the micromanaging boss. Undisciplined response: get frustrated every time your boss questions your work. Complain to colleagues. Let resentment build, eventually quit, or get fired. Disciplined response. 1. Notice the anger. I'm frustrated because I value autonomy and trust. 2. Recognize the signal. This situation is telling me something needs to change. 3. Take strategic action. Schedule a conversation to understand their concerns and establish a different working agreement, or begin looking for a role where there's better alignment. 4. Either improve the situation through direct action or exit strategically. The key difference: reactive anger makes you a victim of circumstances. Strategic anger makes you an agent of change. The anxiety algorithm: converting worry into useful action. Anxiety is future-focused fear. Your mind is running disaster scenarios, trying to protect you from potential threats. The problem is that your anxiety system can't distinguish between actual threats, like being chased by a predator, and imagined threats, like, what if this presentation doesn't go well? The undisciplined mind either spirals into catastrophic thinking or tries to suppress anxiety through distraction, which just makes it worse. The disciplined mind uses anxiety as a planning tool. The anxiety conversion process. 1. Write down specifically what you're anxious about. Not, I'm worried about work. Instead, I'm anxious that I won't finish the report by Friday and my boss will think I'm incompetent. 2. Separate realistic concerns from catastrophic thinking. Realistic: the timeline is tight and I have a lot of work left. Catastrophic: my boss will think I'm incompetent, I'll get fired, I'll never find another job, I'll lose my house. 3. For realistic concerns, create an action plan. I need 8 hours to complete this report. I can work 3 hours tonight, 3 hours Thursday, and 2 hours Friday morning. I'll communicate the timeline to my boss now rather than waiting until it's late. 4. For catastrophic thinking, challenge with probability and evidence. Have I ever been fired for missing one deadline? No. Has my boss given any actual indication they think I'm incompetent? No. Even if this doesn't go perfectly, what's the realistic consequence? A conversation about better planning next time? Once you've separated realistic concerns from catastrophic thinking and created action plans for what you can control, most anxiety dissipates. What remains is useful alertness that helps you stay focused on executing your plan. The disappointment distinction: learning versus ruminating. Disappointment is inevitable. Projects fail. Relationships end. Goals aren't reached. Expectations aren't met. The question isn't whether you'll experience disappointment, it's what you do with it. The undisciplined mind ruminates, replaying what went wrong, dwelling on what could have been, imagining alternate scenarios where things turned out better. This creates suffering without producing any useful insight. The disciplined mind learns, extracting valuable lessons, integrating new information, and adjusting strategy. The learning protocol. After a disappointment, ask 1. What were the results I expected, and what actually happened? Be specific. 2. What factors did I control, and what was outside my control? Focus your attention on what you controlled. Release what you didn't. 3. What would I do differently with current knowledge? Not in a self-blame way, but in a strategic adjustment way. 4. What's the specific next action I can take? The best response to disappointment is purposeful forward movement. 5. Is there a timeline for processing this, after which I move on? Give yourself permission to feel disappointed. But set a boundary. I'm giving myself 24 hours to process this, then I'm focusing on the next opportunity. This converts disappointment from a dead-end emotion into useful data for your next attempt. The energy state management system. Your emotional state directly impacts your cognitive capacity. Anxiety narrows your thinking. Overwhelm creates mental static. Frustration reduces creativity. The disciplined mind doesn't just manage individual emotions, it manages overall energy state. Creating optimal energy states. Before important work. Physical, brief movement, hydration, proper fuel. Mental, clarify intention, review your why. Emotional, gratitude practice, or brief win visualization. When feeling scattered, take a 10-minute walk without phone. Do 4-7-8 breathing. Inhale 4 counts, hold 7, exhale 8. Write stream of consciousness for 5 minutes to clear mental cache. When feeling low energy, cold water on face or brief cold shower. High energy music and physical movement. Connect with someone who energizes you. After setbacks, process the emotion, don't suppress. Extract the lesson, don't ruminate. Take one small action toward recovery. Build momentum. The point isn't to manipulate yourself into artificial positivity, it's to consciously manage your state so you're operating from your best self rather than your most reactive self. Chapter Summary. The Emotional Mastery System. 1. Create the observation gap between stimulus and response. 2. Track your emotional patterns to understand your programming. 3. Challenge the stories your mind creates about situations. 4. Transform reactive anger into strategic action. 5. Convert anxious energy into useful planning. 6. Extract lessons from disappointment without rumination. 7. Actively manage your energy state throughout the day. Emotion is information, not instruction. The disciplined mind feels everything, suppresses nothing, and chooses its responses strategically. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to maintain this discipline over time, because understanding these principles is one thing, but building them into sustainable practice is another. Chapter 3. The Consistency Engine. You know what to do. That's not your problem. The problem is doing what you know consistently when it's inconvenient, uncomfortable, or when no one's watching. The problem is maintaining your standards when you're tired, stressed, or discouraged. The problem is following through on your commitments to yourself when a dozen easier options are available. This is where most self-improvement efforts collapse. People start with tremendous enthusiasm, maintain their new behaviors for a few days or weeks, then gradually drift back to their old patterns. Not because they're weak, not because they lack knowledge, but because they never built a system for consistency. The disciplined mind doesn't rely on enthusiasm. It builds a consistency engine, a system that keeps you executing even when motivation disappears. The streak psychology, harnessing loss aversion. Human beings are more motivated to avoid losses than to pursue gains. This is called loss aversion, and it's one of the most powerful forces in psychology. Once you've built a streak, whether it's days of meditation, consecutive workouts, or unbroken writing sessions, your brain becomes highly motivated to maintain it. This is why Jerry Seinfeld's "don't break the chain" method is so effective. He wanted to write better jokes, so he got a large wall calendar and marked an X for every day he wrote. After a few days, he had a chain of X's. His only job then was to not break the chain. The beautiful thing about streak psychology is that it transforms your motivation structure. Early on, you're motivated by the positive benefits of the activity, but once you have a streak, you're also motivated by not wanting to lose what you've built. This dual motivation structure is far more reliable than motivation alone. Practical application. Choose one keystone behavior, the single most important daily action that supports your goals. This might be writing 500 words, 30 minutes of focused work on your most important project, exercise, meditation, reading, skill practice. Track it visually. Use a wall calendar, a habit tracking app, or a simple spreadsheet. The format doesn't matter. What matters is that you can see your streak building day by day. Make your only goal to not break the chain. On days when you're tired, busy, or unmotivated, you don't have to do your best work. You just have to do enough to keep the chain intact. 5 minutes counts. Low quality counts. The chain is what matters. Over time, something interesting happens. The behavior becomes identity. You're not someone who sometimes writes. You're a writer who writes every day. The streak is proof of who you are. The minimum viable action. Lowering the activation energy. One of the biggest mistakes people make is setting their standards too high. They commit to running 5 miles a day, then feel like failures when they can't maintain it. They commit to an hour of meditation, then quit entirely when they miss a session. The disciplined mind uses minimum viable actions, the smallest possible version of the behavior that still counts. Going to the gym and doing one set of one exercise counts. Writing one sentence counts. Reading one page counts. Meditating for 1 minute counts. This approach works for 2 reasons. First, it eliminates the activation energy problem. Starting is the hardest part. Once you're dressed in workout clothes, you'll probably do more than one set. Once you've written one sentence, you'll likely write several paragraphs. But getting started is where most people fail, and minimum viable actions make starting almost effortlessly easy. Second, it protects your streak on difficult days. You will have days when you're sick, exhausted, traveling, or dealing with crises. On these days, a minimum viable action lets you maintain your consistency without requiring heroic effort. Example: the 1-minute rule. Commit to 1 minute of your target behavior, just 60 seconds. Anyone can do anything for 1 minute. Can't face a full workout. Do 1 minute of movement. Can't write? Write for 1 minute. Can't meditate? Sit still for 1 minute. The 1-minute commitment does something psychologically powerful. It removes internal negotiation. Your mind can't argue with 1 minute, and once you start, the hardest part is over. The pre-commitment strategy, making future failure impossible. Your present self is optimistic and motivated. Your future self, when faced with the actual moment of execution, will look for any excuse to avoid discomfort. The disciplined mind doesn't trust future motivation. It creates pre-commitments that make the desired behavior inevitable. Types of pre-commitments. Social. Pre-commitment. Tell others about your commitment. Public accountability creates external motivation when internal motivation fades. Join a running group. Hire a coach. Post your goals publicly, or simply tell a friend who will check in on your progress. Financial pre-commitment. Put money on the line. Use services like Stick A, where you pledge money that goes to a charity you hate if you break your commitment. Or hire a personal trainer so the sunk cost motivates attendance. Financial stakes make future failure genuinely painful. Calendar. Pre-commitment. Schedule the behavior like an appointment you can't miss. Block time on your calendar. Set recurring reminders. Treat it with the same seriousness you'd treat a meeting with your boss. Environmental pre-commitment. Make the behavior automatic through environmental design. Lay out workout clothes the night before. Prep healthy meals in advance. Delete social media apps from your phone. Cancel subscriptions to services that waste your time. The key insight: don't rely on your future self to make good decisions. Make those decisions now while you're thinking clearly, and create systems that make future failure difficult or impossible. The recovery protocol. What to do when you break the chain. You will break your streak. You will miss days. You will have setbacks. This is guaranteed. The question is, what happens next? The undisciplined mind interprets a break as failure, uses it as evidence that I can't stick to anything, and abandons the entire effort. One missed workout becomes weeks of inactivity. One broken diet becomes months of poor eating. The disciplined mind has a recovery protocol when you break the streak. 1. Acknowledge it without drama. I missed today. That happened. 2. Refuse the downward spiral. One miss is not evidence of failure. It's a data point. Don't compound one miss into many by telling yourself you've already failed. 3. Identify the specific cause. Was it poor planning? Unusual circumstances? A clash with another commitment? Not a character flaw, a logistics problem. 4. Adjust the system if needed. If you consistently miss morning workouts because unexpected early meetings come up, switch to evening workouts. If you can't maintain an hour daily, drop to 30 minutes. The behavior matters more than the perfection. 5. Restart immediately, not next Monday, not next month, the very next day. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes. The rule: never miss twice. One miss is an exception. 2 misses starts a new pattern. Miss once, that's life. Miss twice, that's a choice to quit. Don't make that choice. The identity shift. Becoming versus doing. There's a profound difference between I'm trying to exercise more and I'm an athlete. Between I'm working on being more disciplined and I'm a disciplined person. Between doing and being. Most people focus on outcomes. I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to write a book. I want to grow my business. These are fine goals, but they're not identity-based. Once you hit the outcome, the behavior often stops. The disciplined mind focuses on identity. I'm a healthy person who takes care of their body. I'm a writer who writes every day. I'm an entrepreneur who ships products. The behaviors flow from identity, not from outcomes. The identity transformation process. 1. Define who you want to become, not what you want to achieve. Not, I want to get in shape. Instead, I'm an athlete who respects their body. 2. Ask, what would this person do? What would an athlete do when they don't feel like working out? They work out anyway. What would a writer do when they're not inspired? They write anyway. What would a disciplined person do when they're tired? They follow their system anyway. 3. Cast votes for your new identity with small wins. Every workout is a vote for I'm an athlete. Every word written is a vote for I'm a writer. Every time you do what you committed to do, you cast a vote for I'm disciplined. 4. Collect evidence of your new identity. Keep a record of your consistency. Notice when you act in alignment with your identity. Use your past behavior as proof of who you are now. James Clear writes, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. The question is, what are you voting for? The compound effect. Understanding exponential growth. Consistency doesn't feel powerful in the moment. Missing one workout doesn't make you out of shape. Writing for 30 minutes doesn't make you an author. Saving $10 doesn't make you wealthy. This is why most people quit. They don't see immediate results, so they assume the effort isn't working. But they fundamentally misunderstand how growth actually works. Growth is exponential, not linear. The effects of your daily actions compound over time, like interest in a savings account. You save $10 a day. That's just $3,650 in a year, which doesn't feel life-changing. But maintained over 20 years with compound interest, that becomes $150,000. The same principle applies to every area of life. Write 500 words a day. That's 182,500 words in a year. 2 novels. Read 20 pages a day. That's 30 books a year. Exercise 30 minutes a day. That's 182 hours of training, enough to transform your health and fitness completely. The disciplined mind plays the long game. It understands that small actions repeated consistently create radical outcomes. Immediate results are less important than directional progress. The difference between good and exceptional is just consistency over time. Your competition isn't more talented. They just quit before the compound effect kicked in. The review and refine system. Continuous optimization. Consistency without assessment leads to stagnation. You might be consistently doing the wrong things or the right things in suboptimal ways. The disciplined mind builds in regular review cycles. Daily review, 5 minutes before bed. Did I execute my keystone behavior? What went well today? What would I adjust tomorrow? Brief note in a journal or app. Weekly review, 30 minutes on Sunday evening. How many days did I maintain my streak? What patterns am I noticing? What obstacles came up this week? How can I adjust my system to make next week smoother? What's my intention for the coming week? Monthly review, 1 hour at month's end. Am I making measurable progress toward my goals? Is my current system sustainable, or am I grinding toward burnout? What behaviors should I add, remove, or modify? What wins can I celebrate? What's my focus for next month? The energy management cycle, intensity, and recovery. Here's a mistake that destroys consistency: trying to operate at maximum intensity all the time. You commit to waking up at 5 a.m., working 12-hour days, exercising intensely, eating perfectly, meditating, reading, learning new skills, and maintaining relationships. You sustain this for 2 weeks, then collapse into exhaustion and abandon everything. The disciplined mind understands that consistency requires a sustainable pace. This means building in recovery, daily recovery. Take real breaks between focus blocks. Actually stop working in the evening. Get adequate sleep. Weekly recovery. Have at least one day where demands are lower. This doesn't mean doing nothing. It means choosing activities that restore rather than deplete you. Periodic recovery. Schedule longer breaks quarterly. A few days away from your routine, pursuing different activities, spending time in nature, connecting with people you love. High performers don't maintain peak intensity constantly. They cycle between periods of high intensity and strategic recovery. This is how you maintain consistency year after year without burning out. Chapter Summary: The Consistency Engine. 1. Build streaks and leverage loss aversion psychology. 2. Use minimum viable actions to eliminate activation energy. 3. Create pre-commitments that make future failure difficult. 4. Implement the recovery protocol when you miss days. 5. Focus on identity-based behavior, not just outcome-based goals. 6. Trust the compound effect of small, consistent actions. 7. Review and refine your systems regularly. 8. Balance intensity with adequate recovery. Consistency isn't about perfection. It's about building a system that keeps you moving forward even when everything in you wants to stop. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to apply these principles of discipline to one of the most challenging contexts: decision-making under uncertainty and pressure. The disciplined mind, conquering chaos, mastering emotion, leading with purpose. Chapter 4. Decision architecture under pressure. Decision-making is where discipline becomes visible. Anyone can make good decisions when they have unlimited time, perfect information, and no stress. The test of a disciplined mind is how well you decide when the stakes are high, the information is incomplete, and the pressure is intense. Most people's decision-making degrades dramatically under pressure. They become reactive, impulsive, or paralyzed. They make choices based on emotion rather than strategy. They let urgency override importance. The disciplined mind has a decision architecture, a systematic approach to making choices that remains functional even when everything is chaotic. The Eisenhower Matrix: separating urgent from important. Dwight Eisenhower, the 34th President of the United States and Supreme Commander of Allied forces in World War II, faced decisions daily that determined the fate of nations. His decision-making framework has become one of the most valuable tools for anyone dealing with complexity and pressure. The Eisenhower Matrix divides all tasks and decisions into 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1. Urgent and important. Crises and emergencies. Pressing problems with deadlines. Last-minute preparations. Quadrant 2. Not urgent, but important. Long-term strategy and planning. Relationship building. Learning and development. Health and prevention. Quadrant 3. Urgent but not important. Interruptions and distractions. Some emails and calls. Other people's priorities. Quadrant 4. Not urgent and not important. Busy work. Time wasters. Trivial activities. Most people spend their lives in quadrants 1 and 3, constantly responding to urgent demands, whether important or not. They're busy, stressed, and exhausted, but not necessarily effective. The disciplined mind lives primarily in quadrant 2. This is where leverage exists. The activities that aren't urgent today, but will create massive returns over time. Strategic planning, skill development, relationship building, health maintenance. These never scream for attention, so they get neglected until they become quadrant 1 crises. Practical application. Each morning before looking at email or messages, list everything demanding your attention. Categorize each item into one of the 4 quadrants. Then apply this decision protocol. Quadrant 1. Do these yourself immediately. Quadrant 2. Schedule these and protect the time religiously. Quadrant 3. Delegate, automate, or eliminate. Quadrant 4. Delete ruthlessly. The key insight: if you don't deliberately allocate time to quadrant 2, it will never happen. Urgent things always win by default. The disciplined mind schedules quadrant 2 first and protects this time from quadrant 3 encroachment. The 10-10-10 rule: extending your time horizon. When facing a difficult decision, most people focus on immediate consequences. What do I want right now? This leads to choices that feel good in the moment but create problems later. The disciplined mind extends its time horizon by asking 3 questions. 1. How will I feel about this decision 10 minutes from now? 2. How will I feel about it 10 months from now? 3. How will I feel about it 10 years from now? This simple framework dramatically improves decision quality because it forces you to consider different timescales. Example: the difficult conversation. You need to give critical feedback to a team member, but it will be uncomfortable. 10 minutes. Avoiding the conversation feels like relief. 10 months. The problem has worsened, the relationship is damaged by resentment, and now you have to have an even harder conversation. 10 years. You've established a pattern of conflict avoidance that has limited your leadership growth. Having the conversation now, 10 minutes. Uncomfortable but purposeful. 10 months. The issue is resolved, the relationship is stronger because of honest communication. 10 years. You've developed a reputation as a leader who addresses problems directly and develops people. The 10-10-10 rule doesn't make the decision for you. It reveals the full picture so you can choose with awareness rather than just reacting to immediate discomfort. The regret minimization framework. Jeff Bezos, when deciding whether to leave his stable Wall Street job to start Amazon, used what he calls the regret minimization framework. He projected himself to age 80 and asked, "Will I regret not trying this?" When he imagined looking back from that vantage point, the answer was clear. He wouldn't regret trying and failing, but he would absolutely regret not trying at all because he was afraid of failure. This framework cuts through analysis paralysis by focusing on the one question that matters most. What will I regret not doing? When facing major decisions, changing careers, starting a business, ending or committing to a relationship, moving to a new city, pursuing a creative dream, ask yourself, when I'm 80 and looking back at this moment, what will I wish I had done? The answer is usually obvious. The disciplined mind has the courage to act on that answer. The reversible versus irreversible decision framework. Not all decisions deserve the same level of analysis. Some decisions are reversible. If they don't work out, you can change course with minimal cost. Others are irreversible or very difficult to undo. Bezos also uses a 2-door framework. Type 1 decisions, one-way doors. These are irreversible or nearly irreversible. Examples: getting married, having children, selling your company, making a major career change. These deserve careful analysis, consultation, and extended consideration. Type 2 decisions, two-way doors. These are reversible. Examples: trying a new marketing approach, testing a new product feature, experimenting with a morning routine. These should be made quickly with minimal analysis. Most people treat all decisions like type 1 decisions, overanalyzing everything and becoming paralyzed. The disciplined mind distinguishes between the two types and adjusts accordingly. Type 1. Take your time, gather information, consult wise advisors, sleep on it. Type 2. Decide quickly, test, learn, adjust. The key question: if this doesn't work out, can I reverse it at acceptable cost? If yes, decide fast and learn from experience. If no, slow down and be more thoughtful. The pre-mortem, planning for failure before it happens. Most planning focuses on how to succeed. The pre-mortem focuses on how you might fail before you've even started. Developed by psychologist Gary Klein, the pre-mortem technique is simple and powerful. Before launching a project or implementing a major decision, imagine it's 6 months in the future and your initiative has completely failed. Now ask, what went wrong? This question unlocks insights that traditional planning misses because it gives your brain permission to identify weaknesses without sounding negative or unsupportive. The pre-mortem process. 1. Set the scenario. It's 6 months from now and our project has failed completely. 2. Generate failure causes. Everyone independently writes down reasons why it failed. No discussion yet, just individual brainstorming. 3. Share and compile. Each person shares their list. Common themes emerge. 4. Prioritize risks. Identify the most likely and most dangerous failure modes. 5. Create mitigation plans. For each major risk, develop specific preventive measures. This process doesn't prevent you from taking action, it makes your action more intelligent by identifying blind spots before they become disasters. The Decision Journal. Learning from your choices. Most people make decisions, see what happens, and move on without systematically learning from the results. They repeat the same mistakes because they never analyzed what went wrong. The disciplined mind keeps a decision journal, a record of important decisions and their outcomes that becomes a personal database of wisdom. What to record. When making a significant decision, write down date and context, the decision you're facing, the options you're considering, your prediction of what will happen for each option, the reasoning behind your choice, your confidence level, low, medium, high, what success and failure would look like. Then, set a calendar reminder for 3, 6, or 12 months later, depending on the decision timeline, to review the outcome. What this reveals. After maintaining a decision journal for a year, patterns become visible. You're overconfident in certain types of decisions and underconfident in others. Certain types of reasoning lead to good outcomes, others don't. You can identify your cognitive biases by seeing where your predictions were consistently wrong. You discover which factors you should weight more heavily and which you overvalue. This feedback loop transforms you from someone who makes decisions based on intuition to someone who makes decisions based on calibrated judgment refined through experience. The Eisenhower Decision Matrix for Personal Choices. The Eisenhower Matrix works for tasks, but you can apply similar logic to personal decisions by asking two different questions. 1. How much will this matter in the long term? 2. How urgent does this feel right now? This creates 4 categories: high impact, low urgency. These are your most important decisions that rarely feel urgent: career development, relationship building, health habits, financial planning. Schedule dedicated time for these: high impact, high urgency, true crises requiring immediate attention. But check, is it really urgent, or does it just feel that way? Low impact, high urgency. These feel pressing but don't actually matter much. Most daily interruptions fall here: minimize, batch, or ignore. Low impact, low urgency, time wasters. Eliminate ruthlessly. The disciplined mind resists the tyranny of urgency and protects time for high-impact decisions even when they don't feel urgent. The RAP decision process. Chip and Dan Heath, in their book Decisive, propose a 4-step process for better decisions. RAP. Widen your options. Most people fall into narrow framing, considering only 2 options: do this or don't do this. The disciplined mind generates multiple alternatives. Instead of, should I quit my job? Ask, what are all the ways I could address my dissatisfaction at work? Transfer departments, negotiate different responsibilities, reduce hours, find a new job, start a side project, etc. R. Reality test. Your assumptions. We make decisions based on assumptions that may be wrong. Reality test. By asking people who've been there before. Running small experiments before full commitment. Seeking disconfirming evidence for your beliefs. A. Attain distance before deciding. Create emotional distance to think more clearly. Use the 10-10-10 rule. Ask, what would I advise my best friend to do? Sleep on major decisions. P. Prepare to be wrong. Use the pre-mortem technique and create contingency plans. Ask, what would have to be true for the opposite choice to be right? This process doesn't guarantee perfect decisions, but it dramatically reduces decision-making errors by forcing you to think more broadly and test your assumptions. Decision fatigue and strategic timing. Your decision-making capacity depletes throughout the day like a battery. Research on judges shows they're more likely to grant parole early in the morning and after lunch breaks, when their mental energy is restored. As decision fatigue sets in, they default to the easier, safer option: denying parole. The same thing happens to you. You make your best decisions when you're mentally fresh. Your worst decisions happen when you're depleted, which is why you're more likely to argue with your partner in the evening, break your diet at night, or make impulsive purchases after a long day. Strategic decision timing. Schedule important decisions for morning when your cognitive resources are highest. Never make major decisions when angry, anxious, or exhausted. Delay until you've recovered your equilibrium. Reduce daily decisions through automation, the decision elimination we discussed in Chapter 1, so you preserve mental energy for decisions that truly matter. Take breaks before major choices. Even a brief walk can restore decision-making capacity. The disciplined mind doesn't just make better decisions, it strategically times decisions for when its capacity is highest. Chapter Summary. Decision Architecture. 1. Use the Eisenhower Matrix to distinguish urgent from important. 2. Apply the 10-10-10 rule to consider different time horizons. 3. Use regret minimization for major life decisions. 4. Distinguish between reversible and irreversible decisions. 5. Conduct pre-mortems to identify failure modes before they happen. 6. Keep a decision journal to learn from outcomes systematically. 7. Use the RAP process to widen options and reality test assumptions. 8. Time important decisions for when your cognitive capacity is highest. Good decision-making isn't about being smart. It's about having a system that produces reliable results even under pressure. Chapter 5. Focus in a distraction-saturated world. Your attention is under assault. Every app on your phone is designed by teams of engineers whose job is to capture and hold your focus. Every website employs persuasive design techniques to keep you clicking. Every notification is engineered to trigger your curiosity and interrupt your concentration. The average person checks their phone 96 times per day, gets interrupted every 3 minutes, takes 23 minutes to return to full focus after an interruption, spends over 4 hours daily on their phone. This isn't a moral failing. This is a design problem. Your brain evolved for a world that no longer exists, a world where distractions were occasional, not constant. Your attention system is being hijacked by technology more sophisticated than your natural defenses. The disciplined mind doesn't fight this battle with willpower alone. It redesigns the battlefield. The focused versus diffuse modes. Your brain operates in 2 fundamentally different modes. Focused mode, concentrated attention on a specific task. Linear, logical, analytical thinking. This is where you execute work, solve known problems, and produce output. Diffuse mode, relaxed, wandering attention. Associative, creative, big picture thinking. This is where you make connections, have insights, and solve novel problems. Both modes are essential. The problem is that most people spend all their time in a fractured version of neither, constantly switching between shallow, focused attempts and distracted, diffuse states, never achieving depth in either. The disciplined mind deliberately moves between these modes. Focused mode, practice. 90-minute blocks of single-task execution. All notifications off, phone in another room. Clear objective for the session. No input switches, email, browser tabs, messages. Diffuse mode. Practice. Walks without phone or podcast. Shower thinking time. Exercise without consuming content. Deliberate rest between focused sessions. The key insight: both modes require protection. You can't be creative when you're constantly interrupted, and you can't execute deeply when your attention is fragmented. The Deep Work Protocol. Cal Newport's research on deep work, professional activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that push your cognitive capabilities to their limit, reveals that the ability to focus deeply is becoming simultaneously more rare and more valuable. Most knowledge workers spend their entire day in shallow work: email, meetings, administrative tasks, coordination. They produce outputs, but rarely produce anything exceptional because exceptional work requires depth. Creating deep work. Blocks. 1. Schedule it first. Put deep work on your calendar before anything else. Treat it as sacred time, as non-negotiable, as a flight you've booked. 2. Defend it aggressively. No meetings during deep work time. No exceptions for just 5 minutes. This time is when you're producing the work that actually matters. 3. Create environmental support. Go to a different location: library, coffee shop, different room. Use noise-cancelling headphones. Put phone in another room in airplane mode. Log out of all messaging and social media. Use website blockers that don't allow overrides. 4. Have a clear intention. Know exactly what you're accomplishing in this block. Not work on the project, but complete the analysis section with specific focus on the cost-benefit comparison. 5. Build up capacity. If you can currently focus for 20 minutes, don't try to immediately jump to 90. Build gradually. 25 minutes, then 40, then 60, then 90. Deep focus is like physical fitness. It develops with practice. The attention residue problem. When you switch tasks, attention doesn't immediately follow. Part of your attention remains stuck on the previous task. Sophie Leroy calls this attention residue. Example: you're writing a report. You stop to check email. Someone asked a question about a different project. You return to the report, but part of your mind is still thinking about that question. Your writing suffers because you're not fully present. This is why multitasking is so devastating to quality work. You're never fully engaged with anything because fragments of attention remain scattered across multiple activities. The solution: task batching. Instead of switching between different types of tasks throughout the day, batch similar tasks together. Communication batch. Check and respond to all email and messages in designated windows, 11 a.m. and 4 p.m., for example. Outside these windows, communication apps are closed. Meeting batch. Schedule all meetings on specific days, Tuesdays and Thursdays, so other days are protected for deep work. Administrative batch. Handle expenses, scheduling, and routine tasks in a single block, rather than scattering them throughout the week. Creative batch. Writing, designing, strategic thinking. Batch these for when your creative energy is highest. Batching reduces attention residue because you're not constantly switching contexts. Your attention can fully commit to one type of work before moving to another. The notification apocalypse. Every notification is an interruption. Every interruption fragments your attention. The average person receives 63 notifications per day. That's 63 interruptions. Even if you don't respond to most of them, each one breaks your concentration. The disciplined notification strategy. Step 1. Audit your notifications. Go through every app and service. Ask, does this notification represent something that requires immediate attention? For 95% of apps, the answer is no. Step 2. Disable aggressively. Turn off all notifications except calls from specific priority contacts. Time-sensitive calendar alerts. That's it. Everything else can wait for your designated checking times. Step 3. Remove visual cues. The red badge showing unread counts? Disable it. The mere presence of the notification badge creates cognitive load and pulls your attention. Step 4. Create communication expectations. Let people know you check email twice daily. Explain that if something is genuinely urgent, they should call. Set the expectation that you're not immediately responsive, and watch as very few things turn out to be truly urgent. Most people are afraid to do this because they think they'll miss something important. The reality, you won't. What you'll gain is hours of your life back and the ability to think clearly without constant interruption. The smartphone architecture. Your phone is simultaneously the most useful and most dangerous tool you own. It can connect you with anyone, provide access to all human knowledge, and empower you to work from anywhere. It can also destroy your attention, waste hours of your life, and keep you in a state of constant distraction. The disciplined mind doesn't abandon the smartphone, it architects its use. Smartphone redesign. Protocol. Home screen. Purge. Delete or move all attention-grabbing apps from your home screen. Your home screen should contain only tools, maps, camera, calendar, notes, nothing that's designed to capture attention. App diet. Delete social media apps. If you must use them, access through browser only and log out after each session. The friction of logging back in creates a pause that allows conscious choice rather than mindless scrolling. Grayscale mode. Turn your phone display to grayscale. Color is stimulating and makes apps more appealing. Grayscale makes your phone less seductive. You'll still use it when needed, but compulsive checking decreases dramatically. Physical separation. Most important, create physical distance between you and your phone during work and sleep. During deep work, phone in another room, airplane mode. During meals, phone not at the table. During sleep, phone charges in a different room. Use a real alarm clock. During conversations, phone out of sight. Time limits. Use built-in screen time tools to set hard limits on time-wasting apps. When you hit the limit, the app locks. No overrides. The goal isn't to eliminate phone use, it's to convert your relationship with your phone from compulsive to intentional. The boredom training. Modern life has eliminated boredom. Waiting in line? Check your phone. Commuting? Listen to a podcast. Sitting in a lobby? Scroll social media. Every moment of potential boredom is filled with input. This is training your brain to be intolerant of boredom and therefore intolerant of the kind of sustained, undistracted attention that deep work requires. The disciplined mind deliberately practices boredom. Wait in line without checking your phone. Take walks without podcasts or music. Sit in waiting rooms without any input. Eat a meal without reading or watching anything. Drive without talk radio, audiobooks, or music occasionally. This isn't about suffering, it's about reconditioning your attention system to tolerate the absence of constant stimulation. Deep work feels boring to a brain trained on constant novelty. Training yourself to be comfortable with boredom restores your capacity for sustained focus. The single tasking practice. Try this experiment. Set a timer for 20 minutes. Choose one task. Do only that task, nothing else, until the timer sounds. For most people, this is surprisingly difficult. Within minutes, the urge to check email, look at their phone, or switch to a different task becomes almost overwhelming. This reveals how deeply the multitasking habit is embedded. Your brain has learned that focusing on one thing is uncomfortable, so it seeks relief through task switching. The cure is practice. Deliberate, repeated practice of single tasking. Single tasking training program. Week 1, 10-minute single task sessions, 3 times per day. Week 2, 15-minute single task sessions, 3 times per day. Week 3, 25-minute single task sessions, 3 times per day. Week 4, 40-minute single task sessions, 2 times per day. Ongoing. Work up to 90-minute deep work blocks. During each session, choose one specific task. Set a timer. Do only that task until time is up. If your mind wanders or you feel the urge to switch, notice it, then return to the task. Treat each urge to switch as a training opportunity, not a failure. Like building any skill, this gets easier with practice. Eventually, focused work stops feeling uncomfortable and starts feeling natural. The information diet. You wouldn't eat every food offered to you, yet most people consume every piece of information that crosses their awareness. News, social media, articles, videos, podcasts, a constant stream of input that clutters your mind and dilutes your focus. The disciplined mind curates information intake as carefully as an athlete monitors nutrition. Information diet. Principles. Principle 1. Just-in-time learning. Only consume information when you have immediate use for it. Reading about productivity techniques is useless unless you're actively building a productivity system. Most information consumed just in case is never used. Principle 2. High signal-to-noise ratio. Choose sources that deliver high value per unit of time. Long-form articles and books beat short viral posts. In-depth analysis beats breaking news. Primary sources beat commentary. Principle 3. Creation over consumption. Spend more time creating than consuming. Write more than you read. Build more than you study. Ship more than you prepare. Creating forces deeper processing and produces tangible value. Principle 4. Scheduled consumption. Batch information consumption into dedicated blocks rather than constant grazing. Read your curated articles once a week on Sunday morning, not scattered throughout the day. Principle 5. Periodic news fasts. Take extended breaks from news. Try 1 week without checking any news. You'll discover you don't miss anything important. People will tell you if something truly matters. The goal isn't to become uninformed. It's to become intentionally informed rather than passively saturated. Chapter summary. Focus architecture. 1. Move deliberately between focused and diffuse modes. 2. Schedule deep work blocks and defend them aggressively. 3. Batch similar tasks to minimize attention residue. 4. Eliminate nearly all notifications. 5. Redesign your smartphone to support attention rather than fragment it. 6. Practice boredom to rebuild tolerance for sustained focus. 7. Train single-tasking capacity through deliberate practice. 8. Curate your information diet as carefully as your food choices. Attention is your most valuable resource. The disciplined mind protects it ruthlessly and deploys it strategically. Chapter 6. Leading yourself first. You can't lead others effectively if you can't lead yourself. This is the foundational truth that most leadership training ignores. Organizations spend billions teaching leadership skills, communication, delegation, strategy, while ignoring the prerequisite, the ability to lead your own mind, emotions, and behavior. Self-leadership is the discipline of taking full responsibility for your thoughts, emotions, and actions regardless of circumstances. It's refusing to be a victim of your environment, your mood, or other people's behavior. It's deciding who you are and then being that person consistently. This is where discipline becomes leadership. The extreme ownership principle. Jocko Willink, former Navy SEAL commander, teaches a principle that transforms how you approach everything. Extreme ownership. Extreme ownership means this: you are responsible for everything in your world. Not just the things you directly control, but everything that affects your outcomes. Your team's performance, your boss's clarity, your organization's systems, the economy, the weather. This sounds unreasonable until you understand what it actually means. You're not responsible for causing these things, but you are responsible for how you respond to them. Example: the unclear boss. Victim mentality. My boss doesn't give clear direction, so I can't do good work. Extreme ownership. My boss doesn't give clear direction. I'm responsible for getting clarity. I'll schedule time to ask specific questions and confirm expectations. If that doesn't work, I'll document my understanding and move forward with my best interpretation. I own the outcome. The difference isn't just attitude, it's action. Victim mentality creates helplessness. Extreme ownership creates agency. Practical application. When something goes wrong, resist the immediate urge to identify external causes. Instead, ask, how am I responsible for this outcome? Not, my team didn't execute the plan. Ask, how did I fail to communicate the plan clearly, or verify understanding, or check in on progress, or provide adequate resources? Not, the client changed their requirements. Ask, how did I fail to clarify requirements up front, or build in flexibility, or manage expectations about scope changes? This isn't about self-blame, it's about self-empowerment. When you own everything, you can improve everything. When you blame external factors, you surrender your power. The Daily Standards Protocol. Leaders have standards. Non-negotiable expectations for how they operate regardless of circumstances. Your standards are what make you reliable, trustworthy, and effective. Most people don't have conscious standards. They operate based on how they feel, what's convenient, or what others expect. This makes them inconsistent and unpredictable, which makes them unable to lead. Defining your standards. What are the non-negotiable behaviors that define who you are? Examples. I respond to commitments within 24 hours. I show up on time to every meeting. I never speak negatively about someone who isn't present. I address conflicts directly rather than avoiding them. I admit mistakes immediately rather than defending them. I deliver work by the deadline or communicate early if I can't. These standards aren't about being perfect, they're about being consistent. Write down your standards, review them daily, hold yourself accountable to them. When you violate your own standards, acknowledge it immediately, understand why it happened, and recommit. Your standards are your integrity made visible. The morning leadership ritual. How you start your day determines how you lead yourself through the rest of it. The first hour after waking is when you set the tone. Are you reactive or intentional? Scattered or focused? Running behind or in control? Most people wake up, immediately check their phone, and spend the first hour responding to other people's agendas. They're behind before they even start, reacting instead of leading. The leadership morning, 5 to 10 minutes, physical activation. Cold shower, exercise or energetic movement. Signals to your body, you're awake, alert, ready. 5 to 10 minutes. Mental centering, meditation, breathwork, or quiet reflection. Clears mental noise from yesterday and sleep. 10 to 15 minutes. Intention setting. Review your goals and values. Identify the one most important task for today. Set implementation intentions for challenging situations you'll face. Visualize executing your day with discipline and purpose. First work block. Deep work on most important task. Before email, before messages, before meetings. Your first cognitive energy goes to what matters most. This ritual creates a different trajectory for your entire day. You're leading yourself from the first moment of consciousness rather than being led by circumstances. The energy leadership model. Your energy level, not just physical, but emotional and mental energy, determines your effectiveness more than your skills or knowledge. A highly skilled person operating at low energy produces mediocre results. An average person operating at high energy often outperforms them. The disciplined mind doesn't just manage tasks, it manages energy. Energy sources, activities that increase energy. Physical movement and exercise. Meaningful work aligned with your values. Connection with people you respect and enjoy. Learning and growth. Progress toward goals. Adequate sleep and nutrition. Time in nature. Creative expression. Energy drains. Activities that deplete energy. Conflict you're not addressing. Tasks you're avoiding. Relationships that are toxic or draining. Clutter and disorganization. Chronic lack of sleep. Poor nutrition. Constant context switching. Work that feels meaningless. The Leadership Energy Audit. Track your energy levels throughout the week. Note when you feel energized and when you feel drained. Look for patterns, then make strategic adjustments. Increase energy sources where possible. Eliminate or minimize energy drains where possible. Schedule energy-intensive work for when your energy is naturally high. Build in energy recovery between demanding activities. Leading yourself means managing your energy as strategically as you manage your time, perhaps more so because energy determines how effectively you use your time. The accountability architecture. Accountability to yourself is harder than accountability to others. When you disappoint someone else, you feel social pressure. When you disappoint yourself, you can rationalize, postpone, or forget entirely. The disciplined mind builds external accountability structures. 1. The accountability partner. Find someone with similar goals. Check in weekly. Report on your commitments. Share struggles. Celebrate wins. Knowing someone else will ask about your progress changes your behavior. 2. The public commitment. Declare your intentions publicly. The social pressure to follow through is powerful. You don't need a large audience. Even telling a few close friends creates accountability. 3. The financial stake. Use services like Stick K, where you pledge money that you forfeit if you don't follow through. Or hire a coach. The investment creates commitment. 4. The progress documentation. Keep visible records of your consistency. A streak calendar on the wall, a spreadsheet tracking metrics, a journal documenting daily execution. Making progress visible creates internal accountability. 5. The regular review. Schedule weekly reviews with yourself. Did you do what you said you'd do? If not, why not? What needs to change? Treating yourself with the same accountability you'd expect from someone reporting to you. The point isn't to create punishment, it's to create structural support for following through on your commitments to yourself. The leadership presence. Leadership presence isn't charisma, it's self-possession. It's the quality of being fully present, emotionally regulated, and responding from choice rather than reacting from impulse. People with leadership presence are calm under pressure. They don't get defensive when challenged. They can disagree without becoming disagreeable. They're the same person in different contexts. Their behavior is driven by their values, not by their environment. This comes from self-leadership. When you lead yourself well, you don't need external validation. You're not controlled by others' opinions. You respond to situations based on your standards, not your emotions. Building leadership. Presence. Physical presence. Stand and sit with grounded, open posture. Make deliberate eye contact. Speak at a measured pace. Your body language should communicate, I'm comfortable with myself, and present with you. Emotional presence. Notice when emotions arise. Use the 3-breath protocol before responding. Don't suppress emotion, but don't let it drive behavior. Your emotional state should inform your response, not control it. Mental presence. When someone is speaking, actually listen instead of planning your response. When you're working, be fully engaged rather than fractured across multiple mental threads. Presence is attention fully deployed. Consistent presence. Be the same person in all contexts. Don't chameleon your personality based on who you're with. Your values and standards should be visible in your behavior, regardless of the situation. Leadership presence is the external manifestation of internal discipline. You can't fake it. It's developed through consistent self-leadership over time. Chapter summary: Self-leadership principles. 1. Practice extreme ownership for everything in your world. 2. Define and maintain your non-negotiable standards. 3. Create a morning ritual that sets leadership intention. 4. Manage your energy as strategically as your time. 5. Build accountability structures that support your commitments. 6. Develop leadership presence through self-possession. 7. Be the same person in all contexts, driven by values, not environment. You can't lead others until you can lead yourself. Self-leadership isn't preparation for leadership. It is leadership, applied first to your own life. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to extend these principles of self-leadership to navigating the chaos and complexity of real-world challenges. Chapter 7. Navigating chaos and complexity. Chaos is inevitable. Markets shift, technologies disrupt, relationships evolve, plans fail, crises emerge. The only certainty is uncertainty. Most people respond to chaos with one of two dysfunctional patterns. They either try to control everything, creating stress and burnout when control proves impossible, or they surrender to circumstances, becoming passive victims of whatever happens. The disciplined mind does neither. It accepts chaos as the natural state of complex systems, distinguishes what can be influenced from what cannot, and focuses energy where it creates leverage. This is the art of navigating complexity without being consumed by it. The control trichotomy. The Stoic philosophers divided experience into three categories: things you control completely, your thoughts, your interpretations, your responses, your effort, your values, your standards. Things you influence but don't control: other people's opinions, team performance, business outcomes, relationship dynamics. Things you neither control nor influence: the economy, the weather, other people's choices, the past, many future events. Most people waste enormous energy trying to control things in categories 2 and 3. They worry about the economy. They agonize over what people think of them. They ruminate about past decisions. They stress about outcomes they can't directly determine. This is not just ineffective, it's psychologically destructive. Trying to control the uncontrollable creates anxiety, frustration, and helplessness. The discipline of acceptance and influence. For things you control completely, exercise that control with full responsibility. Own your responses. Maintain your standards. Execute your commitments. For things you influence, apply your influence strategically without attachment to outcomes. Lead well, communicate clearly, do excellent work. Then release attachment to how others respond. For things you neither control nor influence, accept them completely. This isn't resignation, it's wisdom. Fighting reality is exhausting and pointless. The discipline question: where am I spending energy on things I can't control when I could be applying that energy to things I can? The complexity navigation framework. Complex systems, markets, organizations, relationships, careers don't respond to simple linear cause and effect. They're dynamic, adaptive, and often unpredictable. Trying to plan them completely or control them precisely creates frustration. The disciplined mind uses a different approach to complexity. 1. Direction over destination. Instead of, I will be VP by age 35. Think, I'm moving in the direction of increasing leadership responsibility and impact. Direction gives you flexibility to respond to opportunities and obstacles. Rigid destinations make you fragile. 2. Experiments over commitments. Instead of, this is the strategy we're committing to for the next 2 years. Think, this is our hypothesis. We'll test it for 3 months, measure results, and adjust. Experiments allow learning and adaptation. Fixed commitments ignore new information. 3. Principles over rules. Instead of always do X in situation Y. Think, in situations like this, I apply principles A, B, and C to determine the best response. Principles guide judgment in novel situations. Rules only work for repeated identical situations. 4. Resilience over optimization. Instead of maximizing efficiency by eliminating all slack. Think, building capacity to absorb shocks and adapt to changes. Optimization makes systems fragile. Resilience makes them anti-fragile. Example, career navigation in uncertainty. Brittle approach. I need to become a specialist in this specific technology and work at this specific company doing this specific role. Adaptive approach. I'm building skills in problem solving, communication, and learning new technologies quickly. I'm cultivating relationships across multiple industries. I'm financially resilient with 6 months of savings. Whatever changes happen, I can adapt. The second approach doesn't eliminate uncertainty. It accepts uncertainty and builds capacity to navigate it. The OODA loop, operating at decision speed. Colonel John Boyd, fighter pilot and military strategist, developed a decision-making framework that revolutionized aerial combat and has applications far beyond warfare. The OODA loop. O. Observe. Gather information about what's happening. O. Orient. Make sense of the information based on context and experience. D. Decide. Choose a course of action. A. Act. Execute the decision. Then loop back to observe, incorporating feedback from your action. The key insight: whoever cycles through the OODA loop faster wins. In combat, business, sports, or any competitive domain, speed of iteration beats perfection of any single decision. Most people get stuck in orient or decide, endlessly analyzing, planning, waiting for perfect information. Meanwhile, someone operating faster loops through observe, orient, decide, act. Observe, and has already incorporated feedback and adjusted while you're still planning. Practical application. When facing an ambiguous situation, observe. What's actually happening? Facts, not interpretations. Orient. What does this mean based on my experience and context? What patterns do I recognize? Decide. Given uncertainty, what's a reasonable action I can take that will generate useful information? Act. Execute quickly, at small scale if the stakes are high. Observe. What happened? What did I learn? How do I adjust? The discipline is moving through the loop quickly instead of getting stuck. Bias toward action with rapid feedback beats perfect planning every time. The uncertainty tolerance practice. Most people have low tolerance for uncertainty. It creates anxiety, so they avoid it, which means they avoid growth, opportunity, and leadership. Every meaningful achievement requires operating in uncertainty. Starting a business, uncertain if it will succeed. Pursuing a relationship, uncertain if it will work out. Creating something new, uncertain if it will be good. Taking on leadership, uncertain if you'll be effective. The disciplined mind deliberately builds uncertainty tolerance through exposure. Building uncertainty. Tolerance. Small experiments. Take small risks regularly. Try a new restaurant without reading reviews. Take a different route home. Strike up a conversation with a stranger. Each small experience of, "I don't know how this will go," builds tolerance. Reframing uncertainty. Instead of "I don't know what will happen," anxiety, practice "I'll discover what happens," curiosity. Uncertainty becomes an interesting experiment rather than a threat. Worst-case planning. When facing uncertainty, ask, "What's the worst realistic outcome? And could I handle it?" Usually the answer is yes, which dissolves the anxiety. Tracking tolerance. Notice when uncertainty makes you uncomfortable. Don't avoid it. Lean into it slightly. Like building any capacity, uncertainty tolerance grows through progressive exposure. Leaders must be comfortable with uncertainty because leadership always involves navigating ambiguity. You're building this muscle every time you act without complete information. The scenario planning method. When facing high-stakes uncertainty, the disciplined mind doesn't try to predict the future, it prepares for multiple possible futures. Scenario planning, developed by Royal Dutch Shell and used by organizations navigating complex strategic environments, involves 1. Identify critical uncertainties. What are the factors that could significantly impact your situation, but whose outcomes you can't predict? Examples. Will the regulation pass? Will the funding round close? Will the key employee stay? Will the market shift? 2. Develop 3 to 4 distinct scenarios. Create narratives for different ways the future might unfold. Don't predict which is most likely, just make each internally consistent. Example scenarios for a career decision. Scenario A. New role succeeds beyond expectations, opens up rapid advancement. Scenario B. New role is as expected, steady growth. Scenario C. New role doesn't fit well, need to transition within 18 months. Scenario D. Economic downturn hits industry, job security becomes primary concern. 3. Develop strategies for each scenario. For each scenario, what would you do? What capabilities would you need? What moves make sense? 4. Identify robust actions. Which actions serve you well across multiple scenarios? These are your priorities. Which actions only make sense in one scenario? These are risky bets. Scenario planning doesn't eliminate uncertainty. It transforms anxiety about the unknown into strategic preparation for multiple possibilities. The Chaos Response Protocol. When actual chaos hits, a crisis at work, a relationship crisis, a health emergency, a financial shock, most people panic, freeze, or react impulsively. The disciplined mind has a protocol. Step 1. Pause and breathe. 60 seconds. Before reacting, take 60 seconds to breathe and let the initial panic response subside. This creates the gap between stimulus and response. Step 2. Assess the actual situation. 5 minutes. What are the facts? Not your interpretations, fears, or assumptions. Just what actually happened and what you actually know. Step 3. Identify what you control. 5 minutes. In this situation, what can you directly influence? Focus exclusively on this. Everything else is noise. Step 4. Determine the next right action. 5 minutes. Not the complete solution, just the single next action that moves you in a useful direction. Step 5. Execute immediately. Take that action. Build momentum. One action leads to another. Step 6. loop, reassess. What changed? What's the next right action now? This protocol converts chaos into manageable steps. You're not trying to solve everything at once. You're taking the next intelligent action, then the next, then the next. The perspective shift. Zoom out. When you're inside chaos, everything feels overwhelming. The disciplined mind practices zooming out to gain perspective. The 10-year perspective. Will this matter in 10 years? Most crises that feel catastrophic today won't even be memorable a decade from now. This doesn't minimize real problems, but it eliminates catastrophizing about things that aren't actually catastrophic. The third-party perspective. What would I advise someone else in this situation? You're often clearer and wiser when advising others because you're not emotionally enmeshed. Viewing your situation from outside provides that same clarity. The learning perspective. What is this situation teaching me? Every chaos contains lessons. Instead of just surviving, extract the education. Your struggles become investments in future capability. Perspective doesn't eliminate chaos. It prevents chaos from eliminating your clarity. Chapter summary. Navigating chaos. 1. Focus energy on what you control, accept what you don't. 2. Use direction over rigid destinations in complex situations. 3. Operate faster. OODA, loops, instead of seeking perfect information. 4. Build tolerance for uncertainty through progressive exposure. 5. Use scenario planning for high-stakes decisions. 6. Apply the chaos response protocol when crises hit. 7. Zoom out for perspective when you're caught in overwhelm. Chaos is not your enemy. Chaos is the context in which discipline proves its value. Chapter 8. The discipline of no. Every yes is a no to something else. Every commitment is a rejection of alternative uses of your time, energy, and attention. Most people understand this intellectually, but don't live by it practically. They say yes to too many things, then wonder why they're overwhelmed, exhausted, and unable to make meaningful progress on what actually matters. They're busy, but not effective. Active, but not accomplished. The disciplined mind understands that your power isn't in how much you can do, it's in what you choose not to do. The subtraction strategy. Most self-improvement focuses on addition. Do more, learn more, achieve more. This creates ever-expanding to-do lists and perpetual overwhelm. The disciplined approach often works in reverse. Strategic subtraction. What can you stop doing? What can you eliminate? What commitments can you exit? Warren Buffett's 5-25 rule illustrates this powerfully. 1. Write down your top 25 goals. 2. Circle the 5 most important. 3. The remaining 20, avoid them at all costs. They're not your second-tier priorities. They're distractions from your actual priorities. This is counterintuitive. The remaining 20 aren't bad goals, they're good goals, but they're good goals that will prevent you from achieving your great goals. Practical application. List everything currently demanding your attention. Work projects and responsibilities. Personal goals and aspirations. Commitments and obligations. Relationships requiring maintenance. Activities filling your time. Now apply brutal honesty. If you could only focus on 5 things for the next year, what would they be? Everything else? That's your stop doing list. Not maybe later, actively eliminate, delegate, or decline. This feels uncomfortable. You'll worry about disappointing people or missing opportunities, but the alternative is remaining so scattered that you never achieve anything significant. The obligation audit. You're carrying obligations you never consciously chose. Some are valuable, others are remnants of past decisions that no longer serve you. The disciplined mind periodically audits obligations and intentionally exits those that don't align with current priorities. Conduct an obligation audit. List all your recurring commitments. Regular meetings and calls. Ongoing projects. Committee memberships. Social obligations. Subscriptions and memberships. For each, ask, does this align with my current priorities? Does this energize or drain me? What would happen if I stopped? Am I doing this because it matters or because I've always done it? Then take action. Keep commitments that align with priorities and add value. Renegotiate commitments worth keeping but need different terms. Exit commitments that no longer serve you. Exiting gracefully requires courage, but it's essential. Every obligation you're maintaining out of guilt or habit is stealing energy from commitments that actually matter. The two-list strategy. Warren Buffett also uses a related strategy called the two-list technique, shared through his advice to his pilot. List 1. Your most important goals, priorities. These get your time, energy, and focus. Everything you do should advance these priorities. List 2. Everything else you're interested in or think you should do. These are things you will actively avoid until List 1 is achieved. Not work on when I have time, actively avoid because they're seductive distractions. The discipline is treating List 2 as things to avoid, not as backup priorities. Your focus goes entirely to List 1. List 2 exists only to clarify what you're not doing, saying no without burning bridges. The obstacle most people face isn't understanding the value of no, it's the social discomfort of actually saying it. You want to help. You don't want to disappoint people. You don't want to seem unhelpful or selfish. So you say yes, then resent the commitment. The disciplined mind says no gracefully but firmly. The honest no. I appreciate you thinking of me for this. Right now, I'm focused entirely on your priority, so I'm not taking on additional commitments. I have to decline, but I hope it goes well. The referral. No. This isn't something I can do justice to given my current commitments, but name might be a great fit. Have you considered reaching out to them? The delayed. No. My bandwidth is completely full for the next time frame. If this is still relevant after that, feel free to reach out again and I'll reassess. Most requests won't be relevant later. The values-based. No. I've made a commitment to myself to focus on priority area this year, which means saying no to other good opportunities. This isn't where I can contribute right now. Notice what these have in common. They're respectful, clear, and final. No apologies, no guilt, no leaving the door open for negotiation. Most people are more understanding than you expect, and even if they're disappointed, that's their response to manage, not your responsibility to prevent. The email bankruptcy strategy. Your inbox represents other people's priorities, not yours. Every message is someone else's agenda seeking access to your time and attention. Most people treat email as a to-do list generated by others. The disciplined mind treats email as information to be processed strategically, not commands to be obeyed. Email discipline. Strategies. Batch processing. Check email twice daily, maximum. Morning check and afternoon check. Outside these windows, email is closed. The 2-minute rule. If it takes less than 2 minutes, handle it now. If it takes longer, schedule it or decline it. Don't let email determine your day's work. The filter system. Create filters that automatically sort email by sender or subject. VIP senders get attention. Everything else is processed in batch. Unsubscribe aggressively. Every newsletter or automated email you receive is someone else's marketing claiming space in your attention. Unsubscribe from anything you don't actively want and read. Email. Bankruptcy. If you're overwhelmed with old messages, declare bankruptcy. Archive everything older than a week. If it was truly important, people will follow up. Starting fresh is better than drowning in backlog. The goal isn't zero inbox, it's treating email as a tool you control rather than a master you serve. The meeting. Minimalism. Meetings are where time goes to die. Most meetings are poorly structured, include people who don't need to be there, run longer than necessary, and produce outcomes that could have been achieved via email. The disciplined mind treats meeting time as expensive and scarce. Before accepting any meeting, ask, what is the specific purpose and desired outcome? Is my attendance essential or optional? Could this be handled asynchronously? Is this the most valuable use of this time? Only attend meetings where you have clear contribution to make. Decisions need your input. Relationships benefit from face-to-face interaction. For meetings you run. Send agenda and purpose in advance. Start and end on time, no exceptions. Invite only essential participants. Capture outcomes and actions. End when purpose is achieved, even if time remains. Implement no meeting days. Block entire days for deep work with no meetings allowed. Tuesday and Thursday as meeting days. Monday, Wednesday, Friday for focused work is a common pattern. Your calendar is your life in hours. Defend it like the precious resource it is. The lifestyle design. Building no into your life. The most powerful no's aren't one-time decisions. They're structural choices that eliminate entire categories of demands. Examples of structural. No. Living below your means. Creates financial margin that allows you to say no to work you don't want to do. Simplifying possessions. Fewer possessions mean less maintenance, less decision-making, less distraction. Choosing a shorter commute over a bigger house. Says no to hours of daily driving, yes to time for what matters. Not owning a television. Structural no to passive entertainment consumption, creating space for active pursuits. Limiting social media to specific devices. Says no to constant availability, yes to being present. These aren't about deprivation. They're about designing a life where your defaults align with your priorities instead of fighting them constantly. The integrity test. Every no is a yes to something more important. Every yes should pass the integrity test. Is this aligned with who I want to be and what I want to accomplish? If the answer isn't a clear yes, it should be a no. Chapter summary. The discipline of no. 1. Practice strategic subtraction, not just constant addition. 2. Audit obligations regularly and exit what doesn't serve your priorities. 3. Use the two-list strategy to clarify what you're actively avoiding. 4. Say no gracefully but firmly without apology or guilt. 5. Treat email as a tool you control, not a master you serve. 6. Minimize meetings and protect deep work time. 7. Design your lifestyle to structurally support your priorities. Your time is finite. Your energy is finite. Your attention is finite. The disciplined mind says no to good opportunities so it can say yes to great ones. Chapter 9. Building systems that last. Discipline without systems is temporary. You can execute perfectly for days, weeks, even months through sheer willpower and motivation. But eventually, willpower depletes, motivation fades, and circumstances change. The disciplined mind doesn't rely on constant vigilance. It builds systems that make the right behaviors automatic and the wrong behaviors difficult. This is how discipline transforms from a daily battle into a sustainable way of life. The habit stacking method. Your brain loves efficiency. Once a behavior becomes habitual, it requires minimal cognitive effort. The challenge is building new habits. This is where habit stacking becomes powerful. Habit stacking, developed by B.J. Fogg and popularized by James Clear, involves attaching new habits to existing habits using this formula. After existing habit, I will, new habit. Examples. After I pour my morning coffee, I will meditate for 2 minutes. After I finish lunch, I will walk for 10 minutes. After I close my laptop for the day, I will write down tomorrow's top priority. After I brush my teeth at night, I will lay out my workout clothes. This works because you're not relying on remembering or motivation. You're piggybacking on an existing trigger that already happens automatically. Building a habit stack. 1. Identify your existing solid habits, things you do daily without thinking. 2. Choose a new behavior you want to make automatic. 3. Link them with, after existing, I will new. 4. Start incredibly small. 2 minutes, 1 rep, 1 sentence. 5. Execute consistently for at least 2 weeks before evaluating. The key is starting small enough that there's no resistance. You can always do more once you're there, but the habit is getting started, not the amount. The environment reset. Your environment is constantly shaping your behavior. Most of this influence is invisible, which makes it powerful. You walk into your kitchen and snack not because you're hungry, but because food is visible. You check your phone not because you need to, but because it's next to you. The disciplined mind intentionally designs environments that default to desired behaviors. The productivity environment. Desk contains only what's needed for current task. Phone is in another room during focus blocks. Chair and lighting are optimized for comfort and alertness. Distractions are physically removed, not just resisted. The health environment. Kitchen contains only foods that support your goals. Workout clothes are laid out the night before. Gym bag stays packed and by the door. Water bottle is always full and visible. The rest environment. Bedroom contains no work materials. Devices charge outside the bedroom. Temperature and darkness are optimized for sleep. Bed is used only for sleep, not work or entertainment. Each environment is architected for its purpose. When you enter, the environment cues the behavior. The weekly planning system. Most people approach weeks reactively, responding to whatever comes up. The disciplined mind approaches weeks proactively, with intentional design. Sunday evening planning ritual, 30 minutes. Review. What worked well last week? What didn't work? What did I learn? What will I adjust? Clarify. What are the 3 to 5 most important outcomes for this week? What are my key commitments? What potential obstacles do I see? What resources or support do I need? Schedule. Block time for deep work on most important priorities. Schedule workout times. Plan recovery and rest. Set specific implementation intentions. Prepare. What preparation can I do now to make the week smoother? Grocery planning, meal prep, scheduling, communication. This 30-minute investment dramatically improves week quality because you're leading the week instead of being dragged through it. The recovery architecture. Sustainable discipline requires recovery. Elite athletes train hard, but also prioritize rest. Peak performers work intensely, but build in renewal periods. Systems that ignore recovery inevitably break down. Building recovery. Into systems. Daily recovery. Genuine breaks between focus blocks, not switching to email. Stop work at a consistent time. Evening wind-down ritual. 7 to 8 hours sleep non-negotiable. Weekly recovery. One day with significantly reduced demands. Activities that restore rather than deplete. Social connection with people who energize you. Time in nature or engaging in hobbies. Quarterly recovery. 3 to 5 days completely away from routine. Different environment and activities. Time for reflection and strategic thinking. Return refreshed rather than needing vacation from vacation. Recovery isn't weakness, it's strategic renewal that enables sustained high performance. Systems that include recovery last. Systems that don't burn out. The tracking and measurement system. What gets measured gets managed is a cliché because it's true. The disciplined mind tracks key behaviors and outcomes to maintain awareness and accountability. What to track? Lead measures, behaviors you control. Days maintaining morning routine. Hours of deep work completed. Workouts completed. Pages read. Words written. Lag measures, outcomes you influence. Project milestones achieved. Weight and body composition. Financial savings, skills developed. Relationships strengthened. How to track? Keep it simple. A spreadsheet, a habit tracking app, or a journal. The format matters less than consistency. Review weekly. Are the behaviors consistent? Are the outcomes moving in the right direction? What adjustments are needed? The act of tracking creates awareness. Awareness creates accountability. Accountability creates follow-through. The keystone habit principle. Some habits trigger cascading effects. Charles Duhigg calls these keystone habits, behaviors that naturally lead to other positive changes. Common keystone habits. Exercise. People who exercise regularly tend to eat better, sleep better, be more productive, and have better self-control in other areas. Sleep. Adequate sleep improves decision-making, emotional regulation, and physical health, which cascade into better choices throughout the day. Morning routine. Starting the day intentionally creates momentum that carries through the rest of the day. Tracking one key behavior. The act of tracking tends to improve related behaviors you're not even tracking. Identify your keystone habit, the one behavior that tends to pull other positive behaviors along with it. Protect this habit above all others because its effects multiply. The sustainable pace. The biggest threat to lasting systems isn't lack of ambition, it's unsustainable intensity. You create a perfect system, execute it perfectly for 3 weeks, burn out, and abandon everything. The disciplined mind builds systems designed for sustainability, not peak performance. Sustainable system principles. Start smaller than you think necessary. You can always increase intensity. Starting too large guarantees failure. Build progressively. Add complexity gradually once basic behaviors are solidified. Don't try to overhaul your entire life simultaneously. Allow flexibility. Rigid systems break under real-world pressure. Build in options for different circumstances: travel, illness, unusual demands. Celebrate consistency over perfection. You're building a practice that lasts years, not a sprint that lasts weeks. Include recovery, already discussed, but worth repeating. Systems without rest fail. Think, could I maintain this pace for 5 years? If not, reduce intensity now. The System Evolution Protocol. Your systems should evolve. What works at one stage of life or career may not work at another. New responsibilities emerge. Priorities shift. Capabilities develop. Quarterly system review. Every 90 days, assess. Is this system still serving my current priorities? What's working well that I should protect? What's creating friction or frustration? What needs to be added, removed, or modified? What did I learn this quarter about what works for me? Make deliberate adjustments. Evolve the system intentionally rather than letting it degrade through neglect. Systems aren't static. They're living structures that adapt as you grow. Chapter Summary: Building Lasting Systems. 1. Use habit stacking to attach new behaviors to existing triggers. 2. Design environments that default to desired behaviors. 3. Implement weekly planning rituals for proactive leadership. 4. Build recovery architecture into daily, weekly, and quarterly rhythms. 5. Track key behaviors and outcomes for awareness and accountability. 6. Identify and protect your keystone habits. 7. Maintain sustainable pace instead of unsustainable intensity. 8. Review and evolve systems quarterly. Systems transform discipline from a daily battle into a sustainable way of operating. Build systems that work with your nature, not against it. Chapter 10. The Long Game: Playing for Years, not days. Most people overestimate what they can accomplish in a year and underestimate what they can accomplish in a decade. They chase immediate results, get discouraged when transformation doesn't happen in weeks, and quit before compound effects have time to work. The disciplined mind plays a different game, the long game. It optimizes for sustainable progress over years, not dramatic achievements in months. It understands that small, consistent actions compound into extraordinary results over time. This chapter is about shifting from sprint mentality to marathon strategy. The decade perspective. Where will you be in 10 years? That depends entirely on what you do consistently in the next 3,650 days. A decade feels distant, almost abstract, but it arrives whether you prepare for it or not. The 10-year question. For each area of your life, ask, if I maintain my current patterns for 10 years, where will I be? Career. Continue learning or plateau? Build skills and relationships or coast? Health. Build strength and vitality or decline into preventable disease? Finances. Create security and freedom or remain paycheck to paycheck? Relationships. Deepen connections or drift apart through neglect? Knowledge. Become genuinely expert or remain superficially informed? Your current daily behaviors are votes for your future self. You're building one of two futures with every choice: the future you desire or the future you'll regret. The disciplined mind makes daily decisions with the 10-year version of itself in mind. The 1% improvement philosophy. James Clear popularized the idea of 1% daily improvement. If you get 1% better each day, you'll be 37 times better after 1 year. 1.01 to the power of 365 equals 37.78. This isn't about literal mathematical precision, it's about the power of small, consistent improvements compounding over time. Why 1% works? Sustainable. 1% improvement is always accessible, even on difficult days. Non-threatening. Your brain doesn't resist small changes the way it resists dramatic ones. Cumulative. Small improvements stack on each other, creating exponential growth over time. Measurable. You can identify concrete 1% improvements in any domain. Examples of 1%. Improvements. Reading one more page than yesterday. Adding one more rep to your workout. Spending one more minute in focused work. Learning one new word in a language. Saving one more dollar. Practicing one more minute of a skill. None of these feel significant. That's the point. You don't need motivation or exceptional circumstances to improve by 1%. You just need to show up. Over a year, these insignificant daily improvements become dramatic transformations. The patient urgency paradox. The disciplined mind holds two seemingly contradictory qualities in tension. Patient, understanding that meaningful achievement takes years, not weeks. Willing to invest consistently without demanding immediate results. Trusting the process and the compound effect. Urgent, treating each day as valuable, not wasting time. Taking action now rather than postponing, making the most of the finite time available. This isn't actually contradictory, it's strategic patience with tactical urgency. Patient about outcomes. I'm building something significant. It will take years. I'm committed to the long arc. Urgent about actions. Today matters. This hour matters. I'm not postponing what I can do now because someday isn't guaranteed. Most people get this backwards. Urgent about outcomes, demanding immediate results. Patient about actions, postponing what they could do today. The disciplined mind reverses this. Patient about outcomes, urgent about actions. The plateau. Preparation. Growth isn't linear. It happens in plateaus and breakthroughs. You work consistently, seeing little visible progress, then suddenly leap forward. Then another plateau, then another breakthrough. Most people quit during plateaus because they interpret lack of visible progress as lack of actual progress. This is a fundamental misunderstanding of how skill development works. The plateau, reality. When learning anything, a physical skill, intellectual capability, creative pursuit, most of the time you're consolidating gains rather than breaking new ground. The plateau isn't stagnation, it's foundation building for the next breakthrough. Surviving plateaus. Expect them. Know they're coming. They're not failure, they're part of the process. Trust the process. If you're putting in quality work, progress is happening even when it's not visible. Focus on process, not outcomes. During plateaus, measure consistency, showing up, putting in time, rather than results. Zoom out. Review progress over months, not days. The trend line is what matters. Stay curious. Plateaus end when you make subtle adjustments, not when you give up. Every expert you admire survived multiple plateaus by continuing when nothing seemed to be happening. That's not exceptional patience. It's understanding how growth actually works. The future self. Visualization. Your future isn't abstract. It's being built by your current choices. The disciplined mind maintains vivid connection with future self. Monthly future self. Practice. Set aside 20 minutes monthly to visualize in detail. Your future self 5 years from now. What does a typical day look like? What capabilities do you have? What have you accomplished? How do you feel physically and emotionally? What relationships have you built or deepened? What gives you pride when you reflect on the journey? Make it specific and sensory. What you see, hear, feel. This isn't fantasy, it's connecting today's choices to tomorrow's reality. Then ask, what would my future self want me to do today? The answer is usually obvious. The challenge is doing it. The legacy question. What do you want to be remembered for? When people reflect on your life, your children, your colleagues, your community, what do you want them to say? This isn't morbid, it's clarifying. Most people live reactively, responding to immediate demands without considering the larger arc of their lives. The legacy question forces strategic thinking about what actually matters. Legacy. Clarity exercise. Write your own eulogy. Seriously. What would you want said about you? Then ask, am I living in a way that would produce this legacy? The gap between your desired legacy and your current actions reveals your real priorities versus your stated priorities. The disciplined mind closes this gap by aligning daily choices with legacy goals. The anti-regret framework. Looking back from age 80, what will you regret not doing? Not spending more time with family. Not pursuing meaningful work. Not taking care of health. Not taking courageous action on what matters. Not being fully present. You probably won't regret working less, responding to fewer emails, or being less busy. You will regret not doing what was important because you were caught up in what was urgent. Weekly anti-regret. Check, each week, ask, if I continue this pattern, what will I regret? Then, what one thing can I do this week that my future self will be grateful for? Do that thing every week, without exception. Take one action your future self will thank you for. Over years, these weekly actions become a life without major regrets. The compound interest of character. Financial compound interest is powerful. Money earning returns which earn returns on returns, creating exponential growth. Character compounds the same way. Disciplined actions build capability, which makes future disciplined actions easier, which builds more capability, creating exponential personal growth. How character compounds. Each time you do the hard thing, it becomes slightly easier next time. Each time you maintain your standards, your identity as someone who maintains standards strengthens. Each time you choose long-term value over short-term comfort, you're rewiring your default responses. Over years, these small deposits of discipline compound into a completely different person with completely different capabilities. You're not trying to be perfect. You're making deposits in the character account, trusting compound growth. The marathon mentality. A marathon isn't run at sprint pace. You'd collapse before the first mile. It's run at sustainable pace with strategic energy management, focusing on completing the distance rather than dominating the first kilometer. Your life is a marathon, not a sprint. The disciplined mind maintains sustainable pace rather than burning out through intensity, focuses on consistency rather than peak performance, plays infinite games rather than finite ones, continuing to play rather than trying to win and stop, builds capacity progressively rather than demanding immediate mastery, measures success in years rather than weeks. You're not racing against others. You're not trying to be exceptional by next month. You're building a life of meaning and capability over decades. Chapter summary: The long game. 1. Make decisions with your 10-year future in mind. 2. Focus on 1% daily improvements that compound over time. 3. Be patient about outcomes, urgent about actions. 4. Expect plateaus and continue through them. 5. Maintain vivid connection with your future self. 6. Live in alignment with your desired legacy. 7. Make weekly anti-regret choices. 8. Trust that disciplined action compounds into character growth. 9. Play the marathon, not the sprint. The disciplined mind doesn't optimize for today. It optimizes for a life well lived over decades. Conclusion: The Disciplined Life. We began this book with a confrontation. The lies your undisciplined mind tells you to keep you exactly where you are. I'll start tomorrow. I just need to get motivated. I work better under pressure. You now understand the truth. Discipline isn't about motivation, willpower, or waiting for the right feeling. It's about architecture, designing your decisions, environment, and systems so the right actions become automatic. Let's bring it all together. The core principles revisited. Discipline is architecture, not willpower. You don't fight your impulses with force. You design systems that make good behavior inevitable and bad behavior difficult. Emotions are data, not instructions. You feel everything, suppress nothing, but choose your responses strategically rather than reacting automatically. Consistency beats intensity. Small actions repeated reliably outperform heroic efforts that can't be sustained. You control less than you think, influence more than you realize. Focus energy on what you can control. Accept what you can't. Attention is your most valuable resource. Protect it from the 1,000 design distractions competing for it. Self-leadership is prerequisite for leading others. You can't effectively lead anyone else until you can lead yourself. Systems beat goals. Good systems make goals inevitable. Without systems, goals are just wishes. The long game always wins. Compound effects over years create extraordinary results. Optimize for decades, not days. What changes now? You have two choices. Choice 1, close this book, feel temporarily inspired, return to old patterns within a week. Intellectually understand discipline, but never apply it. Remain exactly where you are. Choice 2. Choose one thing from this book and implement it today. Build one new system this week. Make one decision with your 10-year self in mind. Take one action your future self will thank you for. The difference between these choices is everything. Knowledge without application is entertainment. You've been entertained. Now, apply. Your next single action. Not your complete transformation plan, not your detailed strategy, your next single action. What's one thing you can do today that represents discipline? Set up your environment for tomorrow's morning routine. Schedule your first deep work block for this week. Write down your top 5 priorities and your stop doing list. Delete one distraction from your phone. Define one daily standard you'll maintain. Set one implementation intention. Start one tracking system. Do that one thing, then the next, then the next. The disciplined community. Discipline is easier in community. Find others committed to similar growth. An accountability partner who checks in weekly. A community pursuing similar goals. A coach or mentor who's been where you want to go. Even one friend who will ask, "How's it going with your commitment?" You don't need a large community. You need genuine accountability, the permission to be imperfect. You will fail. You'll break streaks. You'll make poor decisions. You'll have days where discipline collapses. This doesn't mean you lack discipline. It means you're human. The disciplined mind doesn't demand perfection. It demands recovery. When you fall, you get up. When you miss, you resume. When you fail, you learn. The question isn't whether you'll fail, it's what you do after failure. The identity shift. The ultimate goal isn't to do disciplined things, it's to become a disciplined person. Every action is a vote for your identity. Every time you follow through on a commitment, you're voting, I'm someone who does what they say. Every time you maintain your standards, you're voting, I'm someone with standards. Cast enough votes, and the identity becomes real. You're not trying to be disciplined, you are disciplined. The bigger why. Discipline isn't the end goal. Discipline is the vehicle. The end goal is a life of meaning, impact, and freedom. The ability to pursue what matters most. The capacity to create value. The peace that comes from knowing you're living in alignment with your deepest values. Discipline is what makes that life possible. Without discipline, your best ideas remain unexecuted. Your potential remains unrealized. Your time is consumed by others' priorities. Your emotions control your behavior. Your chaos prevents leadership with discipline. You build what matters. You become who you're capable of being. You lead your own life first, then help others lead theirs. You transform emotional energy into purposeful action. You navigate chaos with clarity. The final truth. Your undisciplined mind will continue trying to negotiate. Tomorrow will always seem like a better day to start. Later will always feel easier than now. That voice never stops. The difference is whether you listen to it. The disciplined mind hears the voice, not today, I'm not ready, just this once, and acts anyway. Not because it feels good, not because it's easy, because it's aligned with who you're becoming. This is the moment, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, now. You know what to do. The only question is, will you do it?